You're listening to Brandon Sports Talk, interviewing professional athletes and Paralympians and Olympians. And now for your professional athlete interview and your host, Brandon P. Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the Adrian College Bulldogs assistant women's wrestling coach, Coach Angela LoRousso. How are you doing today?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you want to get started in coaching in college women's wrestling?
So I've helped out a little bit at my high school as well. Getting to go back for breaks and stuff. I just helped them out. I got to go back for their girls' states a couple times. And the assistant coaching position opened up, and I had just graduated with my master's. And so it was just really convenient, and I fell into the position because I had already had a little bit of experience, and the team needed me to stick around a little bit. We had lost a lot of seniors just last year, and so having a few of us stick around to help out really helped keep the team culture going.
What was that experience like for you as a collegiate athlete going to Adrian College and competing?
It was awesome. I really enjoyed it. I had a good time, even though my freshman year was COVID year, and then sophomore was the year we all had to wear masks while wrestling. That was certainly interesting, but even through all that, it was an amazing time, and I'm super glad I did it because I almost didn't. I almost decided not to wrestle in college, but I'm super glad that I did.
For you as a collegiate wrestler, what was that experience like putting on the singlet and representing Adrian?
It was super cool. I've built up a really big loyalty for the school. I'm especially because of the team, because of who I got to be with, who I got to meet. And it's not just because I respect them as wrestlers, I respect them as people too. Both my previous teammates, my peers, and my coaches. So getting to be one of them, putting on that singlet was very important to me because I got to be one of them. I got to be their peer.
What were some of your collegiate accomplishments as a wrestler?
I All-Americaned, I forget what place, fifth or sixth, one year, at a postseason tournament. I qualified for nationals every year that we had it. And I was a Scholar All-American every year. So I graduated with a 4.0 even in my master's. So
What was that transition like for you going from being an athlete to now joining the coaching staff of your alma mater?
a little weird because I like pretty much anyone would. I was hanging out with teammates, then all of a sudden I had to be their coach. So it's a little weird to just jump right into that, especially when I couldn't tell them that I was already set to be the assistant coach. So I had to slowly extricate myself, so to speak, and they had no idea why until we could tell them. So it's a little weird. It's still, even though we've gone through a whole season, it's still getting the kinks worked out, but we're all doing our best. Like the girls are trying to work with it, I'm trying to work with it. So it really helps to have good mentors like the other coaches to get me through that.
For you, what was that feeling like getting announced to be the next assistant coach?
I knew way before a lot of other people did, I guess, or at least I was offered it way early. And so once it was finally announced, it was like, oh gosh, finally I could talk about this. So there was that. There is a sort of relief of like, okay, finally I get to actually step into the role and try to do something with it.
For you, what was that transition like going from wrestling on that mat to coaching on the sidelines of that mat?
Very difficult, actually. Coaching for high schoolers, it's a different style, and so I didn't feel as left out. But as a coach, I feel a little left out because I can't be there and wrestle the match for them. I have to try and prepare them as best I can in the practice room before the match. And so for me, it's pretty difficult. I don't know if other coaches feel the same, but I find it very difficult to just sit on the sidelines and not be there, like hand on hand, wrestling with and for them. So
What does a typical match look like for you as a coach versus when you were a player?
So when I was a wrestler, I would take forever to warm up. I'd be very silly. I'd be dancing all the time. And now as a coach, I don't really get to do that. So sometimes I find my opportunities to dance, and sometimes I just observe our wrestlers because I'm still very new to this position. So I try to observe our wrestlers and see kind of what they need, how they're feeling, and how my other coaches are coaching them. Because I can learn a lot that way by watching my coworkers now on how to best help our athletes.
For you, what was that first match like as an assistant coach?
A little weird. I stuck to camera for the first few, just recording the matches, making sure we had them for review. But the first few times I had to step in and actually coach, it was nice to have the other athletes or other coaches sitting there with me so that like it wasn't just me trying to give advice and I could kind of ease into the role. So that was nice. It was definitely a relief to have help there.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've started to help to build for the women's wrestling program?
So I'm trying to follow our current culture of like finding good people, good leaders, self-motivated people. And I personally really like the self-motivated part. And so I'm trying to push athletes that we find have interests of their own that seem very noble or even sometimes just difficult to sort of push yourself to do. And I'm trying to keep us in contact with those athletes as we're recruiting them because I'd really like to see those people come to our team and help improve our culture in that sense.
Who are some of the teams in your conference that you compete against?
So we don't have a conference yet, but our local ones that we compete against are pretty much Tiffin, Albion's nearby, um, a bunch of schools like that, a couple of the Michigan, a couple of the Ohio, a couple Indiana. So those are the ones we see a lot. And like wrestling Tiffin has always been wild. I remember my freshman year wrestling against them and what's it? I think it was like a fraternity showed up and they were booing everybody. And we're like, what's happening? Because we're all freshmen. We didn't know what was happening. And then now seeing them change and grow and seeing it from the coach's perspective, it's so much different.
What is that home game atmosphere like during the wrestling match when you have teams like Tiffin comes to home versus going to Hope?
So when we have it at home, it's a lot more comfortable. And sometimes I guess we might feel too comfortable. We get a little silly, especially when we have control of the music. And so we end up making a lot of people laugh. And then when we have to go away, we get a little shy, but we still try to be the same team, still try to have fun with it.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to be female wrestlers?
So we start out by looking at like regionals, districts, states brackets. So whatever the tournament that qualifies them for states, we look at everyone that qualified for that and we add them to our recruiting list. And then we start going through and picking out people we want to talk to based on GPA, personality, how we've seen them wrestle, stuff like that. And so we'll text them, we'll try to find their number on NCSA. It's a really helpful tool for us, and only coaches have access to it, which is super nice for like privacy stuff. And so we try to find their number. If we can't, we find their Instagram. We say, hey, we want to call with you. Can you fill out a recruiting form so we can get a good idea of how to best talk to you? Then we have a call. Then we try to invite them to apply since it's free and then come visit. And we take them on our visits. We keep chatting them up, remind them about their FAFSA stuff, and try to get them financial aid, all that good stuff. But mostly it starts with just sending out a text.
As a coach, what are some of the things that you look at during these wrestling tournaments
For recruits or for our team.
for recruits?
So we're looking to see how they interact with their opponents, their coaches, their opponents' coaches, and their teammates. We're looking to see how they wrestle and how they handle the mental difficulties of wrestling. We want to see that good character, leadership, and self-motivation throughout all those interactions.
What is that like getting to see them fall in love with the campus of Adrian and fall in love with the wrestling program?
It's super nice to see that happen, to see them come to the campus, be like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Look at all these flowers. Because Adrian has their thing about flowers. Um, but we love being able to share that with them and then being able to share moments of being around the team, of getting to eat with them, getting to chat with some of our ladies, maybe stay in the dorms, stuff like that. We love getting to give them that opportunity because they end up just loving the campus that much more when we do that.
As an assistant coach in alma mater, what is it like seeing those freshmen put on that singlet representing Adrian for the first time versus your seniors putting it on for the last time?
So when our freshmen put on our singlets, it's a little funny because either they're impressed by how well they fit, or they're like, "Oh, my thighs, it's too tight." That's always the complaint. So we get them the right size, but it's definitely eye-opening to see them in the colors for the first time because it always looks right to me at least. And then our seniors having them like compete for the last time, it's always sometimes you don't always know when it's going to be the last time. And so you're always hoping that the next time might be the last time and not this time. But you don't really get that say all the time because it's the wrestler that wrestles, not the coach. So it's a lot of like, is it this? Please don't be, please. It's a lot of back and forth, a lot of emotions there.
How is it like getting to see them wrestle for the first time in their first wrestling match?
They're very clunky at first. Very few wrestlers will come out of high school being a perfect collegiate athlete. I certainly didn't. I didn't get a win until my first home tournament, actually. Um, so they're very clunky, a little unsure of themselves at first, but that's everyone, and that's completely okay. It's a little funny. We'll definitely make fun of them, but it's in good faith that we're gonna help them become better and get used to that competition level.
As a coach, what is it like seeing those seniors going on and competing, whether it's professional wrestling for the national team with US, WWE, or UFC?
So we've actually had Zoe Nowicki go on to MMA, and she's can't remember if she has a professional fight coming up or she has already completed her first professional fight. But like hearing about her as she was one of my peers and like kind of following along with what all she's been doing and how she jumps back and forth from MMA to wrestling sometimes. It's very interesting to see that, and I like to hear what all she's up to and what all she's accomplished as time goes on. It's definitely those other avenues are a lot different than just collegiate wrestling. And so it's very interesting to hear what they've gone through and hear the perspectives of what's outside of collegiate wrestling.
What would you tell your younger self now, looking back on your career as a coach at your alma mater?
Have more fun with it. I took everything way too seriously, which I still do, but it's incredible how small everything is, how small every match really is. No one remembers all the people who lost, so you could be as spectacularly good or spectacularly bad as you want in a match, and no one's really gonna remember unless you do something crazy or fun or funny, something like that. Like people don't remember how many times I've lost or won. They remember that I dance before I wrestle. Um, and so having that experience is it's interesting and it's a lot of fun, and I encourage other people to remember that too, that you just have fun with it. It will be important later.
What have been some of the things you've been able to accomplish so far as assistant coach?
I've been able to talk to quite a few recruits, quite a few high schoolers. I've been able to coach quite a few high schoolers, and I really like that. Um, we we did a clinic over in Fowlerville, and so I got to coach a bunch of littles, and they were very adorable, and I love doing that. So being the assistant coach here has given me the chance to coach a lot of wrestlers that I may not have had access to otherwise, and I really enjoy that.
What are some of your future plans for the program moving forward?
I hope to work with like improving our workouts, improving our efficiency of like learning drills and learning wrestling and all this sort of stuff, transitioning from folk style to freestyle because high school is folk style and we are freestyle. Um, I hope to sort of make all that more efficient, make the recruiting process more efficient and more solidified, sort of thing. Things can get very chaotic, even though we're in our 10th year, so we're kind of the senior in the scene of women's colleges or women's teams. Um, we could still always be more efficient, more innovative, better, and I want to help us do that.
What advice would you give those incoming freshmen entering their first year of college women's wrestling?
Stick with it. It's gonna suck for a little while because you're new to how intense it is. But if you keep up the pace by the end of the year, it won't feel so intense. So just keep up with it as best you can. Listen to your coaches. They're not here to take you down, they're here to build you up.
What advice would you give those college juniors looking to be rising seniors and leading the program?
Try not to put so much pressure on yourself, but definitely step up where you need to. Like, try to find balance between feeling pressured to be a leader and feeling pressured to be the best and not stepping up at all or being too tired, maybe. I see that a lot. Sometimes we're too tired to really step up and push ourselves, which can then help push the team. I think there needs to be a balance between that. I know you're tired. I get tired too. But there are times where we have to pretend we're not, even though we may not be able to give 100%, because that's what's going to help be a leader for your peers. You're going to be able to encourage your teammates better that way.
What advice would you give those athletes that have aspirations of competing in professional wrestling, whether it's WWE, AEW, UFC, or national team route?
Um, Try to find good people to work with. So, good wrestling partners, good coaches, good nutrition habits, stuff like that. Try to find people who are along the same path or at least have the same high level of ambition and good habits, because the people you surround yourself with are going to encourage you to be similar. And so if you surround yourself with the people who are going to help you succeed, it's going to be a little easier to do that.
What advice would you give those athletes out there that are looking to get started into their coaching journey?
Take a look around you and ask the coaches around you for help, for guidance, for opportunities, because it's probably right there. There's a lot of coaching opportunities, especially in the women's world of wrestling, to there's a lot of opportunities to coach, and so there's probably opportunities right where you're standing. You just need to look around and ask. And the best way to start is to start small, because you're so new to it. There's so many weird aspects of coaching that you really need to be a wise old guy to figure out sometimes. But if you take it slow and listen to your coaches, they'll help you get there.
What advice would you give those future assistant coaches looking to get started into the sport of women's wrestling?
Um, Kind of the same thing. Listen to your peers, your coaches. Um, your coworkers are going to be your best form of improvement. And yes, you need to improve. Coaching doesn't come naturally to most people. And so you need to be listening and asking and improving.
What advice would you give those coaches that are looking to coach at their alma mater like you have?
It's probably a little easier and harder than you think. If the position's not open like it was for me, you can always volunteer. You can come back as an alumni. You're more than welcome to do that. And coaching can come in many different forms. It doesn't have to be a fully titled paid position for you to be able to help and coach.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the program?
So our wrestling program is AC.Women's Wrestling on Facebook and Instagram. And mine is Ariel Newlake on Instagram.
Thank you again, Coach, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as the assistant women's wrestling coach at Adrian.
Thank you.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon. You can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.